Welcome to this explainer. You know that intense, sometimes completely overwhelming urge to show the world exactly who you are? Well, if you're watching this, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Today, we're unpacking a really profound Vedic astrology placement, Rahu in the first house. Now, we're not just doing a basic chart reading here. We are popping the hood to look at the core engine of your identity and your ambition. Let's dive right in and see what happens when the drive to stand out becomes the literal defining force of your entire life. Seriously, take a second and think back over your life. How many completely different versions of yourself have you already outgrown? I'm betting you can chop your timeline into distinct eras, right? Each one featuring a totally different you. See, for someone with Rahu in the first house, reinvention isn't just a happy accident when you change jobs or move to a new city. It's an active, absolute necessity. You don't just grow older, you literally outgrow your past identities, shutting them like snakeskin to make room for something way bolder. Let's ground ourselves with a core definition. Rahu in the first house, the house of the physical body and the ego, is an astrological placement characterized by an intense drive to create a unique, memorable, and independent identity. It completely supercharges your need to be recognized as an individual. You're definitely not here to blend into the wallpaper, that's for sure. You are intrinsically driven to carve out a space that is 100% yours. But, as we'll see, this powerhouse of a placement comes with some pretty intense inner conflicts. So let's dive into our first major theme, the drive for identity. This brings us to a massive crossroads, discovering yourself versus just reinventing yourself endlessly. This is the first major trap of Rahu in the first house. On one hand, you've got this beautiful opportunity for genuine self-discovery, but on the other, there's a huge risk of getting caught in a restless, chaotic loop. You have to ask yourself, are you changing your hair, your career, or your friend group because you're actually getting closer to the real you? Or, and be honest here, are you just pivoting again because you're terrified of standing still? Figuring that out is an absolute game changer for your peace of mind. For you, self-image becomes this major area of growth and experimentation. It's basically your own personal laboratory. You are the mad scientist, and your own persona is the grand experiment. You probably find yourself constantly testing out new ways of presenting yourself, tweaking the variables to see what feels right or what gets the best reaction. This makes your life incredibly dynamic, but it also means your sense of self is permanently under construction. It's a huge area for growth, but hey, growth usually means stepping into the uncomfortable unknown. But here's a tough question you really need to sit with. Are you confident in who you are without any external approval? When your identity is a rolling experiment, it is so easy to rely on the audience's reaction to tell you if you're succeeding. They clap, you keep the outfit. They don't, you scrap the personality. But true confidence, the kind of radical independence this placement is actually trying to teach you, requires you to be rock solid in your identity even when the room is empty. And that leads directly to this ultimate tension. Becoming yourself versus becoming what others expect. Life is pushing you toward true independence, but you have to fight the constant urge to just mold yourself to what the crowd wants. You want to be unique, but you also really want to be recognized. And sometimes the fastest way to get applause is to just play the loud, quirky characters society expects you to be rather than the person you actually are. It's a tricky paradox, right? You've got to keep both hands on the steering wheel of your own identity. All right, moving on to our next chapter. The public persona. With this placement, people just find you intriguing, unusual, or honestly flat out difficult to ignore. You possess this undeniable, magnetic aura. You don't even have to be the loudest person in the room. There's just this gravitational pull to Rahu in the first house that naturally draws the eye. People are just fascinated by you. You carry an energy that completely disrupts the mundane, making you incredibly memorable. But because you naturally draw all those eyes, you're faced with a serious choice. Authentic presence versus a carefully crafted image. You know people are watching, so the temptation to put on a show is huge. You're acutely aware of how you're perceived, and you definitely have the skills to curate that perception down to the finest detail. The real challenge? Making sure that the captivating person they're staring at is actually you, and not just some highly curated avatar you built for public consumption. And it's the exact same dynamic when it comes to seeking purpose versus just seeking attention. You crave visibility, that's a given. But why? Are you standing on that stage because you have a profound driving purpose and a message the world literally needs to hear? Or are you just chasing that intoxicating high of being the center of attention? Distinguishing between visibility rooted in real purpose and visibility rooted in pure ego is going to be a lifelong balancing act for you. Look, when you stand out this much, you're going to attract some very strong, polarized reactions. People generally do not feel neutral about you. Your highly visible path is going to inspire deep admiration in some folks who see you as a total trailblazer. In others, your unapologetic individualism is going to spark pure, intense envy. And for pretty much everyone else, burning curiosity. You've got to learn to navigate this wild sea of reactions without letting it capsize your own boat. So, when you're facing all that envy or admiration, stop and ask yourself, are people seeing the real you or just a projection? Often, the admiration is for a persona you've actually already outgrown, and the envy? That's usually for a perfectly curated lifestyle that doesn't even exist behind closed doors. It is absolutely vital to realize that other people's intense reactions are usually just their own stuff bouncing off the very bright mirror you hold up to the world. This perfectly highlights the core conflict of your massive ambition, pursuing genuine success versus desperately chasing validation. Ambition is your rocket fuel, no doubt about it, but you have to interrogate it. Are you climbing the mountain because the view at the top aligns with your personal, authentic definition of success? Or are you just climbing it so everyone at the bottom will look up and cheer for you? Genuine success actually fulfills you. Chasing validation just leaves you starving for the next round of applause. Let's shift gears to our third section, breaking the rules. It's no secret that you often challenge social norms and expectations. You have a completely natural, instinctual drive to break free from traditional boundaries. You look at the normal way of doing things, the standard life paths, the expected timelines, and you just immediately see their limitations. You're hardwired to question why things are done a certain way, and 9 times out of 10, you just decide those rules simply don't apply to you. But wait, you really need to look at your underlying motives here. Breaking rules for growth versus breaking rules for rebellion. It's the difference between being a true pioneer and just being a contrarian for the sake of it. Are you ignoring a norm because it limits your authentic growth and you need to forge a better path? Or are you breaking it just for the sheer thrill of sticking it to the man? Blind rebellion is ironically just another way of letting the rules control you by forcing you to do the exact opposite. Because of this drive, foreign cultures, unconventional paths, or highly unusual interests literally shape your identity. In your quest to be completely unique, you naturally gravitate toward the exotic and the esoteric. Whether it's moving to a completely different country, carving out a bizarre niche career, or diving down some obscure rabbit hole, you use these external, non-traditional building blocks to construct your own internal identity. You take the strange and make it yours. Which brings us to a huge, huge gut check. Are you expanding your world, or are you just escaping your roots? It's amazing to explore foreign cultures and embrace the unusual, as long as it's actually adding to your foundation. But actually, if you're just using the unconventional as an elaborate mask to hide from where you started, or to escape the boring reality of your own background, well, that identity is going to be pretty fragile. Make sure you're running toward discovery, not just running away from familiarity. And that brings us to our final section, the ultimate lifelong question. Ultimately, every single tension we've talked about today boils down to this one profound quote: who am I beyond the image I project? When you strip away the wild interests, the magnetic public persona, the massive ambition, and the endless exhausting reinventions, what is actually left? Finding that answer isn't just a quick weekend project. It is the ultimate destination of your entire astrological journey. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.